Formula One makes its way back to America with the Miami Grand Prix. It's another sprint weekend, but we have much more upgrades to go over than we did in China. In China, we saw upgrades on the Haas team and little parts being brought to other teams like Sauber and so on. Now we're going to see much bigger parts coming here with some of the top 5 teams bringing huge upgrades, and hopefully this can put a dent into Red Bull or make big progress throughout the field. Red Bull has said to be hitting a wall kind of. Adrian Newey talks about the marginal returns they're getting on their car. And obviously as these regulations come to a close, the cars will gain less and less and the field will get closer and closer. The RB20 is a good way ahead, but let's go over the upgrades that are coming for the big teams. I wanted to thank you guys for the support on the recent videos and in general over the channel. We're getting close to 36K, which would be amazing to hit with this video. So if you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. It'd mean a lot to me. We're inching to some big milestones soon, so thank you so much for the support, and it means the world for me. So let's get into the upgrades coming into the Miami Grand Prix. The first team that I want to go into is Ferrari. So Ferrari has a big upgraded package for Imola, and that is the awaited upgrade package, an aggressive setup they're going for on their SF24. The team has spoken a lot about this, and we will get a special livery for Miami. A blue car on a Ferrari, I think, is going to be a killer combo. How blue will the car be? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it'll be the little yellow stripe that's on the car, but maybe we'll get a completely different looking Ferrari, which I am very excited for. As for the upgrades, there are some news outlets reporting that we are going to get upgrades. Some rumors are coming out. They're saying they fast-tracked part of Imola, but if you look at Formula Uno, who usually is the one spreading these rumors when it comes to this type of stuff, they actually don't go by this claim and say that Ferrari and Frederick Vasseur don't plan on bringing anything and are just awaiting the important upgrade. It is a sprint weekend. Taking the risk right now to bring introduction to parts would be a very bold move. Now, while we do have some big parts coming here, Ferrari's not going to be providing them. We've been talking about the rear wing needing a change. It's been the same rear wing for all these Grand Prix, and while it has worked, it's been very conservative as to what they could be bringing here. Now, this could be because of tire graining and they're not so certain on their car. They do have the best tire degradation so far in the season, so taking some risk on the rear wing would never be a bad call. And another recent rumor and some pictures that we have from Formula Uno is what the supposed side pod upgrade is supposed to be for Imola. It's been spoken about a lot, whether this is going to be an undercut, an overcut, what are they going for on this car? Well, from this imagery and recent rumors, the car is supposed to have an overcut and very similar to that of Red Bull. Now, they already have that vertical inlet that helps with the boundary layer coming off of the front nose of the car. This inlet is a S-duct, so it provides more air going down to the side pod area, while the Red Bull's is partially cooling but also brings it back to the beam wing. It's a different setup on this vertical inlet. As for the overcut, it would be a bold move, and they have stated before, some of the engineers over there at Ferrari, that when they tried this overcut in the wind tunnel, it wasn't bringing them the gains that they were expecting. So for them to kind of sidetrack this and now go for this would be interesting. I've heard undercut, that's going to be much more severe on the car. Now we're hearing that it's going to be similar to RB20, so I'm not exactly sure what to anticipate with these important parts that should be coming to Imola, not here. Briefly going over Aston Martin and Red Bull, there shouldn't be parts for either of these teams. They're also bringing packages to Imola, and the thought is right now for Aston Martin, it should be a diffuser and floor setup, but that's just rumors going around. As for the Red Bull, we don't know what's coming. I said Adrian Newey and the team over there at Red Bull is seeing marginal gains now. It's much less of a gain than before, and this is pretty much, they're getting to that wall, that maxed out car because of the regulations closing up. So we'll have to see the move that Red Bull pulls. Now let's go over the huge parts we know are coming here. So the McLaren team is bringing a lot of parts. They've been the only team this year, with the exception of Ferrari, that's brought pretty much nothing within these few Grand Prix that we've had. They were really strong in China. They caught me by surprise. They even caught themselves by surprise with Lando saying that they made a bet they'd be 35 seconds behind Max. While they finished second ahead of Sergio on a track that was supposed to be hell for the McLaren. Now, the upgrade coming here is supposed to help with all of their issues. We know that they have a big problem with drag. They've been a slow car in a straight line, and this seems to be an inherent problem for Mercedes-powered cars. Now, you could say that's because of the engine, but that's not true. Aston Martin now, as of currently, has been the fastest car on the field, believe it or not. In China, they were the quickest. In Japan, they were the quickest. Now, this might have to do with compromise, but they've been a pretty quick car. McLaren was not fast in China, they weren't fast in Japan when it comes to top speed, but the car overall has been improved. They didn't bring that many upgrades to their beginning season MCL 38 from the MCL 60. You can see a little bit of a side pod indent change. It's a little bit more of a undercut, and we saw a little bit of a floor edge change and the engine cover, but nothing to an extreme level. We did see a new rear wing on the car, which is something they were lacking big time in 2023, but I expect way bigger changes. Maybe we'll see something to the front wing and definitely a new floor. They're saying these are not supposed to be parts as big as the Austria or the Singapore upgrades, but they will be visible and it should be a noticeable change in their pace. Definitely something I'm looking forward to covering on Thursday when we see the full pictures to that extent. Now we also have even F1 reporting on it that Mercedes have something coming from Miami, as Wolff hopes for a crucial step forward. And we do have rumors on what these parts are going to be. Mercedes has also not upgraded the car much. They brought a slight front wing update that really didn't do much to the car. It's still been in a weird situation. High speed has still not been its greatest suit, and top speed for the car hasn't been great, with the exception of Jeddah where they went with a low wing, but in high speed they were awful, so it depends on the compromise they're willing to choose. These upgrades that are coming to the Miami Grand Prix, James Allison has already stated that he hopes that this is going to help with the balance and figuring out the problems they've had in the simulation going on to track. We do know that one of the things they were talking about is temperature on track and how that has played a factor into whether they've been slower or faster, depending on the degrees of each track. Now, there is a nice little analysis on this from Track to Track made by F1 Big Data. It shows that in Australia, they were the 5th fastest team, China 5th, Jeddah 5th, Suzuka 5th, and in Bahrain, they were the 3rd. And if you look at the temperature from track to track, you will see that Australia was the hottest and Bahrain was the coldest. So that means that they're probably firing up their tires a little bit quicker in race pace and shredding through them depending on if it's hot or not. Now, Aston Martin has a similar problem. They were so good on their tires in 2022, they've lost that advantage and now have a car that doesn't have any of the advantages of the 22 or 23 car. Hopefully they can work on a fix for this because Miami is going to be a very hot Grand Prix, if not the hottest we've had so far. And supposedly they're going to be remodeling the side pod shape with a even bigger and more drastic undercut, but also work on the floor edges, maybe bring an underfloor. It's a pretty significant upgrade, and it's said to have been fast-tracked from Imola. I think they'll be still bringing parts to Imola, but this might be a split. Bringing it on a sprint weekend is risky, but they did that in Coda of last year, and that really helped them when it came to race pace. And while I do have a lot of hope, it's Mercedes we're talking about, and it always seems to be some issue with the car after they add upgrades. Another thing becomes a problem, and the same thing keeps occurring again and again. I'm excited to see what Mercedes and McLaren bring. I hope Ferrari brings something soon. They do have a high downforce wing they still haven't used yet, and maybe they'll try it, but I doubt it for a track with so much straight line and high speed corners. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe, it'd mean the world, and peace.